There are no entailed estates, and I dismiss you from the firm. You can go and earn your living in any way you please, by orchid hunting if you like." He paused, gasping for breath. "Is that all, father?" asked Mr. Stephen, producing a cigar from his pocket. "No, it isn't, you cold-blooded young beggar. That house you occupy at Twickenham is mine. You will be good enough to clear out. I wish to take possession." "I suppose, father, I am entitled to a week's notice like any other tenant?" said Mr. Stephen, lighting the cigar. "In fact," he added, "if you want to know, I think I shall ask you to apply for an ejection order. You will understand that I have arrangements to make before making a fresh start in life."
"Oh, curse your cheek, you cucumber!"
raged the infuriated merchant prince. Then an inspiration came to him.
"You think more of an ugly flower than of your father, do you? Well, at least I'll put an end to that."
And he made a dash at the plant on the table with the evident intention of destroying the same. But the watching Woodden saw. With a kind of lurch he interposed his big frame between Sir Alexander and the object of his wrath. "Touch O. Paving and I knocks you down," he drawled out. Sir Alexander looked at O. Paving, he looked at Woodden's leg of mutton fist, and changed his mind.
"Curse O. Paving," he said, "and everyone who has to do with it,"
and swung out of the room, banging the door behind him. "Well, that's over," said Mr. Stephen gently, as he fanned himself with a pocket handkerchief. "Quite exciting while it lasted, wasn't it, Mr. Quatermain? But I have been there before, so to speak. And now what do you say to some luncheon? Pinn's is close by, and they have very good oysters. Only I think we'll drive round by the bank and hand in this cheque. When he's angry my parent is capable of anything. He might even stop it. Woodden, get off down to Twickenham with O. Pavo. Keep it warm, for it feels rather like frost. Put it in the stove for tonight, and give it a little, just a little tepid water, but be careful not to touch the flour. Take a four-wheeled cab, it's slow but safe, and mind you keep the windows up and don't smoke. I shall be home for dinner." Woodden pulled his forelock, seized the pot in his left hand, and departed with his right fist raised, I suppose in case Sir Alexander should be waiting for him round the corner. Then we departed also, and after stopping for a minute at the bank to pay in the cheque, which I noted notwithstanding its amount was accepted without comment, ate oysters in a place too crowded to allow of conversation. "Mr. Quatermain," said my host, "it is obvious that we cannot talk here, and much less look at that orchid of yours, which I want to study at leisure. Now, for a week or so at any rate, I have a roof over my head, and in short, will you be my guest for a night or two? I know nothing about you, and of me you only know that I am the disinherited son of a father to whom I have failed to give satisfaction. Still, it is possible that we might pass a few pleasant hours together talking of flowers and other things, that is, if you have no previous engagement." "I have none," I answered. "I am only a stranger from South Africa, lodging at a hotel. If you will give me time to call for my bag, I will pass the night at your house with pleasure." By the aid of Mr. Somers's smart dog-cart, which was waiting at a city mews, we reached Twickenham while there was still half an hour of daylight. The house, which was called Verbena Lodge, was small, a square red brick building of early Georgian period, but the gardens covered quite an acre of ground and were very beautiful, or must have been so in summer. Into the greenhouse we did not enter, because it was too late to see the flowers. Also, just when we came to them, Woodden arrived in his four-wheeled cab and departed with his master to see the housing of O. Pavo. Then came dinner, a very pleasant meal. My host had that day been turned out upon the world, but he did not allow this circumstance to interfere with his spirits in the least. Also, he was evidently determined to enjoy its good things while they lasted, for his champagne and port were excellent. "You see, Mr. Quatermain," he said, "it's just as well we had that row which has been boiling up for a long time. My respected father has made so much money that he thinks I should go and do likewise. Now I don't see it. I like flowers, especially orchids, and I hate bullion broking. To me the only decent places in London are that sale room where we met and the horticultural gardens." "Yes," I answered, rather doubtfully, "but the matter seems a little serious. Your parent was very emphatic as to his intentions, and after this kind of thing," and I pointed to the beautiful silver and the port, "how will you like roughing it in a hard world?" "Don't think I shall mind a bit. It would be rather a pleasant change. Also, even if my father doesn't alter his mind, as he may, for he likes me at bottom because I resemble my dear mother, things ain't so very bad. I have got some money that she left me, 6,000 or 7,000 pounds. and I'll sell that Odontoglossum Pavo for what it will fetch to Sir Joshua Tredgold. He was the man with the long beard who, you tell me, ran up Woodden to over £2,000, or failing him, to someone else. I'll write about it to-night. I don't think I have any debts to speak of, for the Governor has been allowing me £3,000 a year. At least that is my share of the profits paid to me in return for my bullion-broking labours, and except flowers I have no expensive tastes. So the devil take the past. Here's to the future, whatever it may bring." And he polished off the glass of port he held, and laughed in his jolly fashion. Really, he was a most attractive young man, a little reckless, it is true, but then recklessness and youth mix well, like brandy and soda. I echoed the toast and drank off my port, for I like a good glass of wine when I can get it, as would anyone who has had to live for months on rotten water, although I admit that agrees with me better than the port. "Now, Mr. Quatermain," he went on, "if you have done, light your pipe and let us go into the other room and study that Cypripedium of yours. I shan't sleep to-night unless I see it again first. Stop a bit, though. We'll get hold of that old ass Woodden before he turns in. Woodden," said his master when the gardener had arrived, "this gentleman, Mr. Quatermain, is going to show you an orchid that is 10 times finer than O. Pavo." "Beg pardon, sir," answered Woodden, "but if Mr. Quatermain says that, he lies. It ain't in nature, it don't bloom nowhere." I opened the case and revealed the golden Cypripedium. Woodden stared at it and rocked. Then he stared again, and felt his head as though to make sure it was on his shoulders. Then he gasped. "Well, if that there flower bain't made up, it's a master one. If I could see that there flower a blowing on the plant, I'd die happy." "Woodden, stop talking and sit down," exclaimed his master. "Yes, there, where you can look at the flower. Now, Mr. Quatermain, will you tell us the story of that orchid from beginning to end? Of course, omitting its habitat if you like, for it isn't fair to ask that secret. Woodden can be trusted to hold his tongue, and so can I." I remarked that I was sure they could, and for the next half hour talked almost without interruption, keeping nothing back, and explaining that I was anxious to find someone who would finance an expedition to search for this particular plant, as I believed the only one of its sort that existed in the world. "How much will it cost?" asked Mr. Somers. "I lay it at £2,000," I answered. "You see, we must have plenty of men and guns and stores, also trade goods and presents." "I call that cheap. But supposing, Mr. Quatermain, that the expedition proves successful and the plant is secured, what then?" "Then I propose that Brother John, who found it, and of whom I have told you, should take 1/3 of whatever it might sell for, that I, as captain of the expedition, should take 1/3, and that whoever finds the necessary money should take the remaining third." "Good, that's settled." "What's settled?" I asked. "Why, that we should divide in the proportions you named, only I bargain to be allowed to take my whack in kind, I mean in plant, and to have the first option of purchasing the rest of the plant at whatever value may be agreed upon." "But, Mr. Somers, do you mean that you wish to find £2,000 and make this expedition in person?" "Of course I do. I thought you understood that. That is, if you will have me. Your old friend the lunatic, you and I will together seek for and find this golden flower. I say that's settled." On the morrow, accordingly, it was settled with the help of a document, signed in duplicate, by both of us. Before these arrangements were finally concluded, however, I insisted that Mr. Somers should meet my late companion, Charlie Scroope, when I was not present, in order that the latter might give him a full and particular report concerning myself. Apparently the interview was satisfactory, at least so I judged from the very cordial and even respectful manner in which young Somers met me after it was over. Also I thought it my duty to explain to him with much clearness in the presence of Scroope as a witness, the great dangers of such an enterprise as that on which he proposed to embark. I told him straight out that he must be prepared to find his death in it from starvation, fever, wild beasts, or at the hands of savages, while success was quite problematical and very likely would not be attained. "You are taking these risks," he said. "Yes," I answered, "but they are incident to the rough trade I follow, which is that of a hunter and explorer. Moreover, my youth is past. I have gone through experiences and bereavements of which you know nothing, that cause me to set a very slight value on life. I care little whether I die or continue in the world for some few added years. Lastly, the excitement of adventure has become a kind of necessity for me. I do not think that I could live in England for very long. Also, I am a fatalist. I believe that when my time comes I must go, that this hour is foreordained, and that nothing I can do will either hasten or postpone it. by 1 moment. Your circumstances are different.